Greetings, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen. If you were to fly a helicopter each from the summits of every one of the mountains on the continent of Africa by the shortest straight route to the shores of the continent, then the helicopter which would travel the longest distance is the one that takes off from the summit of a mountain in Darfur region of Western Sudan known as Jebel Mara. That means that Jebel Mara is the most centrally located mountain on the continent of Africa. That is interesting because we know from the book of Jubilees that Mount Zion, which is the location of Jerusalem, is also in what is described as the middle of the earth. But the word which is translated earth is the same word that is in other places also translated land, so that it is still correct to say that Mount Zion is in the middle of the land. And if the land being described is or being referred to is the continent of Africa, then it would make Jebel Mara a candidate to possibly be Mount Zion of the Bible. But before we conclude that that is the case, we need to find what else Jebel Mara has in common with Mount Zion, and that's what we'll do right away. So one of the things that we know about Mount Zion is that the temple was located at the top of Mount Zion, and that there was an inexhaustible supply of water provided by abundant permanent springs which were in the temple area. Now, this is something that is not usual to find in mountains. Springs tend to be in the lowest parts of the land, and so most mountains will not really have a spring in the top sections of them. But Jebel Mara does in fact have springs of abundant water which are permanent in the top parts, in the upper parts of the mountain. And so in that sense, Jebel Mara does meet that difficult to meet criteria. The other thing that we know about Mount Zion is that Jerusalem, which was built on it, was surrounded by mountains. And Jebel Mara is not an isolated mountain. It's actually surrounded by other mountains. So that, for example, the word which Messiah or Jesus said, flee to the mountains, actually would make sense in a location like Jebel Mara. So that's another criteria. The other thing we know about Mount Zion is that it was a place that was easy to defend and difficult to capture. When David was thinking about capturing Mount Zion from the Jebusites, he was told that you will not actually get in here. And yeah, we know that eventually he did get in, but the point is that it's a place that is difficult to capture and easy to defend. The government of Sudan has been trying to capture the region of Jebel Mara from the Sudan Liberation Movement for many years, but has not succeeded, precisely because of how difficult it is to capture the Jebel Mara mountains and how easy it is to defend those mountains. So in that sense also, Jebel Mara does meet some of the criteria which we might be interested in. The other thing that is of interest is that Jebel Mara has ruins of massive walls, some of them as thick as 6 feet, which are made of stone, and in the middle of which is packed rubble and earth. And these walls are very solid. That's exactly what you would expect if Jerusalem was ever located in that on that mountain. So that's another criteria that many mountains will not meet. The other criteria is the distance of the mountain from Egypt. We know that Abraham spent a total 7 days going to Mount Zion from Beersheba and coming back to Beersheba. And we also know that Jacob left Beersheba going to meet his son Joseph in Egypt on the 16th day of the 3rd month, and by the 1st day of the 4th month he was in Goshen. So a total of 15 days was spent between leaving Beersheba and settling in Goshen. So the total distance, therefore, from Goshen up to Mount Zion could not have exceeded, could have been traversed, let's say, in a maximum of 19 days. That's if Mount Zion was in the exact opposite direction from Goshen with Beersheba in between. But the distance itself could actually have been shorter depending on the directions. So any location that is suggested for Mount Zion which is further and which cannot be traversed in about 19 days using camels and donkeys, that location cannot possibly be Mount Zion, and that really reduces the number of candidates for the location of Mount Zion. Finally, below this video I will include a link to another video which provides proof that an Israelite man called Eldad Hadani told some Israelites or Jews living in a place called Kairawan in northern Africa that a group of Israelites from the tribe of Dan and later from other tribes left the ancient Israel and traveled overland to Ghana without passing through Egypt. Now, those Jews in Kairawan could have immediately dismissed Eldad Hadani as a fraud if it was impossible to do that. But the location that we are presently being told is the ancient land of Israel and where Jerusalem is located. It is not possible to come from that location and go overland to Ghana without going through Egypt. That means that the location that we are being told is ancient Israel and also Jerusalem. It cannot possibly be, and that leaves the only reasonable or viable candidate for the location of Mount Zion to be Jebel Mara. So I am personally inclined to think that Jebel Mara is actually the Mount Zion that everyone has been looking for. But perhaps before you dismiss my thoughts, I encourage you to go to YouTube and look at some of the scenes and pictures of Jebel Mara. It is a stunningly beautiful place. Everything can grow in that place. There's never been famine in spite of the war, and it surely would impress you. Thank you so much for your time and attention, and have a great day. Bye.